Very interesting topic we have. It's transforming hotel assets through F&B. There are a lot of discussions on it, especially when the region is growing. The impact of F&B on the hotels. So we have specialists with us. Let's please invite them, our panelists. Derek Chatterpal, partner, Smart Food Holding. Derek, please. Judith Toth, CEO, founder, Viv Hospitality. Asif Raza, Vice President, Business Development, Harshu Group. Asif. And we have Matthew here also, F&B specialist, but we have him in our financial advisory topics. So we use all his knowledge, not much left. Very fine, thank you. Thank you very much. Please have a mic and...
Hello.
Interesting topic.
Hello.
Especially very close to my heart, being born and bred in F&B at the beginning of my career. Please, anyone can pick up this question. So the impact of food and beverage on the hotel, just in a short description so people can understand what is F&B and what impact it has on the hotels and its revenue streams. Let's start with the lady. We have three.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you all. So F&B in hotels can mean a lot of different things. It really depends on the type of hotel, the type of location, audience as well. In Dubai, we see a lot of examples, right? In the UAE, that where you go to hotels, you don't only have F&B outlets there to serve the guests, but it's serving a wider range of customers, such as the neighborhood residents and more people. My recent experience is, this is my first trip to Riyadh. I'm staying in a hotel that has very basic F&B outlet, only they're just using it for breakfast pretty much. However, within the area and the location, there are at least 3-4 specialty coffee shops, for my luck. So basically, that's what came to my mind first when I see this property, that why would I have to go outside of this hotel and spend my money somewhere else? Why this hotel doesn't have that specialty coffee or that outlet within its premises where I would stay a guest within the property? I would actually add revenue income to that property. So this is when I see sometimes these little opportunities that hotels miss out on, and that means you need to have a planning. You need to assess the area, the location, the type of your guest, and the type of your residents, because it can make a big difference.
Derek,
Well,
what role F&B can play in transforming the hotels?
I think that here in Saudi, it's a very unique proposition, because if we look inward, we have a lot more nationals than we do expats living in the country. And when you have that culturally, the Saudis don't necessarily gravitate to going to a hotel for F&B. They go to standalone locations. I think it's always been an aftersight in Saudi over the years that we look at F&B inward towards a local population. I think that as the foreigners are starting to come in for business, then it definitely needs to be elevated. But I think there needs to be a balance between the F&B outlet being viewed as a freestanding location and marketed that way, not necessarily within the hotel asset itself, and really trying to target the external audience to drive traffic besides just the local business travelers during the week.
Asif, how an F&B can play its role in elevating the overall image of the hotel and its marketing and its footfall?
Thank you, Turab. I think the F&B is, if you take your last question where you started and said, you know, what F&B is in terms of for the hotels, right? And as you just mentioned that, you know, the hotel you're staying in, it doesn't have a very nice F&B facility, and you're looking around. I think it's the mindset in the first place, what people have to change as hoteliers, that we don't treat restaurants or F&B business in the hotels as a standalone business, or say that it's a standalone restaurants which we need to push same amount of effort as we do to run the room business or the other ancillary services. So usually F&B, if you go 10, 15 years back, it used to be a lot more restaurants in the hotels, if you look at the bigger hotels in the region. and it used to have 8, 10 outlets, but now the trend has changed and it becomes maybe 2 or 3 outlets. However, in terms of bringing back the second question which you have asked, it is F&B can do approximately somewhere between 40% of GOP. However, in some good F&B restaurants or in the hotels where you have very good F&B, it can actually surpass the rooms revenue as well. But there are very few in the region which does that. And I think they have very large F&B banqueting facilities attached to it, and that's why they do that. But F&B in general can bring a lot of name and fame to the hotel, where the guests can be taken into account while they're coming in, because all their services will be catered. We are all very busy creatures these days in the industry, and the people who are traveling around as a corporate or leisure. You want everything quick on your fingertips, and it is extremely important that when you come in, you can have those kind of F&B facilities available within the hotel and market it to you before you actually even arrive to the hotel. I think you might have that question somewhere about the technology, and we can discuss that.
Yeah. Judith, how can you tailor-made F&B experience? So if this is a hotel which has a specific segment to target, how your F&B can be tailor-made to attract to the same segment?
This is an example that we exactly did with our hotel in Dubai. I will give you like a practical example of how we did it. When we took over the asset, there was an all-day dining restaurant planned with a very basic kitchen, and the idea from the asset owner was that this is going to be a bed and breakfast facility. Let's just be ready to provide breakfast with the room, and that's it. So then we did our study. We looked at the area, we looked at the population, the potential for residents, surrounding hotels, the nationalities that we are expecting to come to this location. Looking at all these studies and doing our research, we identified the type of cuisine, the type of food that would probably work in this area. We did our feasibility studies around it. We measured how we're going to do an investment to turn this basic kitchen into a okay kitchen that is able to serve this level of cuisine. And then we pitched this idea to the asset owner, and then we convinced him to invest just a little bit more. However, on the long run, you will see returns from the F&B as well, and the overall hotel experience and the overall ADR of the hotel will also improve because of the fact that we have this F&B. Now, going into this for second stage, when you are actually conceptualizing and creating your concept, we engaged with the consultant, we developed the menu, we created our very specific cuisine, we did A to Z very properly like a large restaurant would do. Again, this is just a boutique concept in a small area. It is not super special, but we did all the steps what a larger, bigger F&B brand would do. And it paid off very well, because then our customers, hotel guests, and the residents in the surrounding, they started liking the concept, and then we regularly also refreshing our menu. So we're learning from the spending habits, which items are going faster, what type of nationalities come, because that even changes time to time, season by season. The hotel guests and the nationalities visiting us can also change and evolve. So accordingly, we adjust our menu and our offerings as well. This is the best practice I could share that we have done, and I've seen improvement and good numbers behind it.
Thank you. Derek, F&B to have normally is lost within the whole P&L of the hotel. How to have it as a standalone business that can contribute to the success of the hotel and operated by the hotel. Not many examples you can count on the finger. What is the matter?
Look, I should be very, very cautious about answering this question, Turab.
There's no hotel operator around.
Yeah, I mean, we can chalk it up to mindset. But, I would say that, from your previous experience with, Al Faisalia Group and what they were able to do with Mandarin Orient and the assets around there, they really looked at it as a mixed-use development to drive traffic to the brands that they did. And, when Mamo first opened up, I would say 1% of the population knew Mamo, because it's in Antibes. They had one location. But yet Mamo, in the first 18 months, did a massive amount of revenue. massive amount of revenue, and still to this day does
Still.
very, very well.
Still.
So the question is, why is a brand that no one knows able to do and succeed so well in an asset like the Mandarin Orient when it converted? The reason is it's accessibility. It's easy to get to. And the interior design, the look and the feel gave the locals something unique. The interior of Mamo really attracted a different class of clientele into the location. The food was consistent, very, very good. The pizza was fantastic. The pasta is still good. I enjoy it. And I think that as a hotelier, you have to really ask yourself, am I a hotelier focusing on room rates, or do I want to focus on F&B? And if I can't focus on F&B and the room rates, then I need to make a decision to say, let me bring in a company or a brand or a partner who will take that GLA off me and generate income for me, right? And let me focus on my core business.
I believe it's $1 million worth of input that Derek just shared. It's rare you find such input that you cannot be master in every area. So bring partners who can add value to you. Lighten up your burden. Already you have 500 hotel keys, spas, and apartments, and a lot more. F&B is a complex business. They had an issue, so I'm not caution, I'm directly. The issue of the whole development was a footfall, guest attraction, not many people are there, low occupancy. You brought in 2, 3 new F&B, quality one, independent operator. Now it's flipped the whole scene. What is an issue now? You don't have parking available, it's an issue. Too many people coming in, the revenue gone to sky. The revenue these couple of restaurants are making, even the hotel can't make the revenue that these couple of restaurants are making. So one wise decision, you took off the burden from your shoulder, you can focus on the hotel, selling it in a right manner, and here a specialist came in, changed the way you operate forever. Now they are giving you publicity, they're giving you marketability, they are bringing a footfall, they are giving advertisement, which is free for you as a hotel. So this is not only they bring revenue to you, they are bringing something which many hotels cannot bring. They are bringing you PR advertisement worth hundreds and hundreds of thousands on a monthly and daily basis. So this is how a good F&B partners can change your life if you choose it selectively and in a proper manner, and offload your burden, focus on your asset.
100%. I think, we want to do everything, but the reality is you won't do everything at 100%. So you're better off, again, looking at it as a GLA, lease it, do a revenue share model, focus on your ADD, focus on your room rates, focus on your room service, use it as a cross promotion, and focus on what really will drive the bottom line for you, and let that be an ancillary revenue.
As a matter of fact, just if I pick up your last word, a good F&B can add couple of % of occupancy and few percentage of revenue to your ADR. Whatever they make, but they can make better, you can make better money in your occupancy through ADR if you have a right F&B partner. This is what's happened in this particular case. Asif, in terms of hotels, not able to run F&B to the way some independents are running it and operating it and getting success, what are the reasoning behind?
As I mentioned before, and I think you pinpointed it very rightly, that first of all, for me, it's as a hotelier, it's a mindset. We are very rooms driven because rooms is what we see all the time. And F&B is kind of an ancillary service for hoteliers to drive hotel, and they always look at room and ADR and everything else. and they're very busy with booking.coms and Expedias and all that stuff.
But you have hotels here which have restaurants, like in
Correct.
dozen restaurants.
Correct.
They see more restaurants than rooms.
No, true.
Still they can't perform it.
But it's the mindset, because they're always not looking at it as a standalone business. And I think the industry has looked at it for a while and trying to make it a standalone, and everybody tried to grill into the people's head and said, let's do a standalone, but they couldn't do it because it's again come down to how is an expert looking at it, because not everybody is coming from food and beverage who's sitting at the top driving seat. So if you bring in an expert who can do it, like if you look at, for example, a restaurant here in Riyadh, I mean, if I give you an example of Hashi Hotels, we run nearly 50 restaurants in the country, in Pakistan. And, you know, we have pretty much everybody in the country has got married and has birthdays and went through those concepts. And there's simple concepts, something like dam pokht or Bukhara, which is a Pakistani food, or Mughlai food. We have Japanese and Pan-Asians as well. But running 50 restaurants in a country with a population of 240 million, and they're quite prominent restaurants in the hotels. Again, I always challenge our food and beverage and says, what does it take for us to even to do a food truck?
Food?
A food truck.
Truck. Food
Yeah.
truck.
Why not? Why do we hold back?
Because it's a hard work. That's why hotels
Correct.
doesn't do
You
like
see,
hard work.
why don't we do it? Why don't we go to the customer? Because they don't want to come in. It's a lunchtime. Your outlet is not really filled, correct? Because people don't have time unless until your hotel was full and there was a conferences and whatnot going on. And why don't you go to the customer? Yes, it's hard work, and food and beverage is a very complex business. In order it's easier to say to do a food truck, but it requires a lot of hard work behind in order to make that happen, look like a 5-star, you're on the road, you're trying to sell in your vicinity or close by areas. I think some of us have done it over the years. And we did it in Pakistan as well, in a couple of metropolitan cities. However, it's a hard work. And again, they say, why we put this much of hard work here? I'll just sell a couple of more rooms, and the profitability is 80% versus the food and beverage profitability of 50%, which I think the P&L is a bit flawed there to some extent. I think that's the main reason.
Judith, why don't we see Zumas and LPMs and Mamos and some of these successful within the hotel industry that developed by the hoteliers?
I would say big part of the success could be also location and the facilities that they are able to serve and to add to it, the offerings. And I would say also that it's been a years of hard work and global experience and brand awareness and knowledge that is behind them. And every single time you see such examples, it's always in a strategic location, and it has the followings, and it has already built into their operation when it comes to, you know, proficiency, training and development, the recipes, the quality. So overall this, I think, is their advantage and their strength. Sometimes we don't see this within hotel environment, because as we discussed
And why is this? Why Mr. Marriott, Mr. Hilton can't bring that?
Because they are in the rooms business.
Okay.
I agree with the gentleman, as they said, because honestly speaking, it's together in a hotel and we all do it, but it's completely different. F&B business from the rooms, it is just, you cannot compare it. It's extremely complex, and I see so many times people open up restaurants with an idea of this is great, it's not such a huge investment, it will be a quick win. It's not. People think because we cook at home and we know how to prepare food, and it looks so quick and easy when you order something and somebody is serving it to you, that must be such an easy and quick way. It is more complicated than running an entire hotel with the rooms, to be honest.
Derek, your views on it, apart from using the room excuses, why entire global hotel industry, and ladies and gentlemen, this is the fact, entire global hotel industry cannot produce one concept equivalent to Zuma, LPM, and that caliber of, this is a dilemma.
Well, I mean, again, back to what is their thesis of their business. It's selling rooms at the end of the day. I think if you look at what Accor did with the acquisition of Eastmore, that shows that there is a global shift. And then the creation of an Eastmore lifestyle that ultimately creates the brands for some of the Accor properties. And then an Eastmore lifestyle going and acquiring Habitat's Hotel recently as well to put that within the portfolio. You see a shift on a global scale of more lifestyle brands coming in, but bringing in, again, we were talking about the expertise within.
So those who are not familiar, Accor has brought a specialist F&B group into their system so that can cater the need of food and beverage department, which is one of its kind. It has never been done. So it's good they realize it. This is not us who can do it. So let's bring in specialists. So this is what Derek is talking about.
Yeah, sorry, I should have clarified that, but when you look at that, it's still the amount that they're scaling and the amount of hotels they're building. You cannot create as many concepts that fast. It's impossible. Doesn't matter how big of a team that you have. So when you look at Fairmont, partnering with various global chefs or recognized chefs, there's a certain chef and a certain brand that might have a very good marriage. Not every chef-driven brand fits in a hotel asset.
Yeah.
And not every lifestyle brand.
So it's a marriage. You need to carefully select your partner.
100%. Because we've seen them come and go, right? Ricardo Girardi is a very close friend of mine, the founder of Beef Bar, and we look at some of his products are
They open and close.
He opens and closes and opens and closes. And again, it's not because the brand isn't successful in other places. It's because it just doesn't work within that asset class or that general hotel itself.
Please.
I just wanted to add, you asked the question about the brand Zuma, correct? And that always worked, doesn't matter where they opened. The first one when they opened in DIFC in Dubai.
No, I'm not particularly focusing on Zuma. Zuma equivalent. There are many other
Correct, there are many.
free, third-party operated restaurant which got success where the hotel are not even close to it.
You're absolutely correct, because they always get it right. And we, as hoteliers who are running big amount of restaurants which are in the hotel assets, are not able to get it right. But I think one is the location, is the ease of access, and because that's their core competency, and everybody working in that organization just want a perfection for that particular 130 seats restaurant and not the entire 20,000 square meter built up area as an asset, correct? So they are very focused in what they do, and the amount of seamless service quality and the energy which goes into Zuma, even if you just take Zuma as an example, is absolutely fantastic.
Allow me to just, so hotels, they have more people than the restaurants. So one hotels carry 400-500 people, so half of them are supporting F&B. Still they can't get it right. Whereas LPMs and Zumas of the world have a limited backup. For sure they are a global opportunity, still they make it right. In my language, there is one difference, it's a focus. The sharp, razor sharp focus and that these independent operators have it, hotels can never get it. The simple reason, hotels people, their employee who will leave every 2 years. As a rule of thumb, every general manager has to move in a couple of years, every F&B has to move in a couple of years, every chef has to move. When there is a rotation, even the most successful restaurant, when you develop, but you change the captain every now and then, the concept which is supposed to go this way will end up going this way because you keep changing the captain. The general manager changed, the chef changed, the manager changed, and eventually the concept dies down. Whereas independent, they do nothing except protecting the brand, bringing the consistency, day in, day out, they breathe it. That's in my opinion, that's one of the biggest.
Yeah, and I would also say, to add to that, Turab, is when you look at the hotel and you have an executive chef that might have 4 different assets that he has to manage, focus is on those assets, not on the outlet. And the creativity is stifled right? When you have a freestanding outlet and a chef dedicated, the creativity is skyrocketed.
Then my question in favor of the hotel investor, why we let the hotel operator open dozen or 8 or 9 or 10 restaurants when they cannot focus it? As you all said, sorry, it seems like I'm on one side, you are, but we are together.
Now you're changing the shift.
We are together. You guys keep, kept focusing that it is room focus. If you have a room focus, you all said, then why am I opening a dozen restaurants and then shutting it down? Because the money doesn't belong to you, money belongs to the investor. You invested on 12 restaurants you open, 12 restaurants, easily $500 million, 20-30 million per restaurant. This is your amount. They open and shut down dozens of hotels. I can give you an example. Because your focus is room, why are you then wasting this money?
But I think you have to give a bit of benefit of doubt. Yes, that's what we all said in the last 20 minutes, is in the hotel industry itself, in the hotels, there's a bit of a problem of the shift of the mindset. However, for example, I'll give you an example. We're also not taking restaurants to the high street. So if you look at the hotel concepts as an assets within the hotel, we as a hotel companies are not taking those concepts to the high street itself. Other people are taking those assets to the high street. So for example, we have recently did in Pakistan 2 restaurants which we have taken it out of the hotels which were there for a long number of years. Last 30 years we are serving people in those restaurants. Now we are taking it to the high street. But then when you take it to the high street, suddenly as a hotel company as well, your focus changes, correct? Because it's only one outlet which you need to manage. That asset you need to manage. So I think what we said before in terms of that, yes, we are room products because the hotels are such. But if you have standalone restaurants which are you taken out of the hotel equation, then it definitely works.
Great.
And there are many examples to those assets.
Interesting, I agree. Judith, celebrity chef, Michelin star chef, hotels collaborating with them, what benefit is there for both of them?
There can be a benefit if it's done well. We've seen so many examples lately in Dubai, so many new restaurants with Michelin star chefs with multiple stars, and then just last month 2 of them closed down, less than 1 year of, I think it was 9 months operation, and 2 of them just closed down because they couldn't keep up. Super famous, super desirable concepts. Why doesn't it work in a place like Dubai? So I think it is really not just picking projects, picking brands, throwing it to locations that people imagine it will be nice, but have a proper study behind it. I think we see many examples, not only there, but in the region as well, where things don't work because it wasn't planned properly, in my belief, because there is no other reason really. If you have a proper study and planning, it could work very well. And also I've seen examples of throwing into too many Michelin star or high-end brands next to each other. It has a point, like more footfall will come, it's more attractive, people can choose from multiple options, but they also cannibalizing each other and they are failing. We see example after example.
Derek, please.
Yeah, so I would say that you need to test the waters before you go all the way in. And, I would focus more on, if I'm going to bring in a celebrity chef, I'd rather do a pop-up with that chef during a high season. Let's say in Riyadh during the winter season. To test the waters.
Good point, very good point.
Right, and I would do a pop-up that would be a very focused chef table, so have it almost exclusive, where it's very limited, 10, 15 seats, and you ride that out for the 2-3 months, and see what the data tells you. If the data tells you that there's an opportunity, then you could look at taking it a little bit further. But the other side of it, specifically in Saudi.
By the way, great example. No books will give you this answer what he has given. It is must to test the water. It's just $1 million worth of a comment. No book will ever tell you, nobody will tell you what you just mentioned. Testing the water is important rather than just bringing it, putting millions and not getting anything. I think it's a very, very important point that you mentioned.
Yeah, and the last part of it would be, when you collect that data, then you have to decide, do I want to invest in a Michelin star or a celebrity chef and deal with the headache of that individual because it's going to be a headache.
So just to translate it in English, what he means. I have opened around a dozen celebrity chefs, Michelin star. Working with them is a nightmare. It's like a prima donnas. You're working with a movie star. They are very, very difficult. They need particular ways of importing their products, importing these things, the equipment, the expenses. They want business class. They don't travel without their partners. They need only first class suites. Working with, this is what he means. It's not easy to work with Michelin star. They are on the TV. They are all over the place. You need to accommodate their every requirement. And you are already in agreement. You can't even pull back. So as you mentioned, Judith, very rightly, Derek mentioned, yes, it does add a value, but you need to choose your partner very wisely. Do your I think it's a lesson learned from you that testing the water is very important. Date first. Doing a pop-ups is like a dating. This is a very good.
Yeah, you need to pick your poison though.
Yes.
Right? Either you're going to spend a couple million, or you're going to deal with the headache.
Yeah.
Or you're going to say, let's rotate it. Let's do it on a quarterly basis, bring in 4 chefs a year, and have it as a rotation so you don't have the headache all the time.
But I think, yes, it's a headache, but and you have to test the waters, as you said, just to check it out and get the data right and analyze it. However, I think the market is also shifting. There was a trend where Michelin star chefs used to be quite good, and that's why the restaurants in Dubai, which have them, also got closed down, quite a lot of them. They might work in London and New York, but even a city like Dubai can't hold it any further. It's also because the market shift is there quite a lot. People don't want to sit down for 5 hours to have a meal, or very creative meal, or somebody's really serving you that much. They do to some extent, but I think the QSR is the new thing where people are in a hurry. They want a convenience food, they want a fresh food, they want farm to the table, and so forth as well.
Yeah, one point on that though. I think when we think Michelin star, I think the perception that it's a 4-hour journey is no longer the reality.
Yes,
right? I mean, I was just in Bangkok and Tokyo over the summer, and I mean, I went to a Michelin star in Bangkok that was a street vendor, and I think the idea of, to your point though, bringing in a casual QSR or food truck that might be a Michelin star, leveraging the Michelin name and the brand is half the battle. You don't need to create that 5, 6, 13 course process. It's just really bringing in good quality food, great service.
Agree. Michelin star, ladies and gentlemen, available in a fast food to medium to the fine dining. So it's Michelin star doesn't mean it has to be 7-course menu. So menu, and you need to spend 4 hours nowadays. As Derek just said, that you have Michelin star where you go just quick dining and go out of it. So Michelin stars now is evolved over the period as well. Judith, coming back to you, what are the hottest culinary trends in the market? Is it Peruvian, which is flourishing? Is it Greek, which is flourishing? Is it Turkish, which is evolving? What food trends are taking shape in the regional market?
What we've been noticing recently, rather than the type of cuisine or the restaurant, I would see different experiences. So let's say supper clubs. They're really trending now, and it's something that we are seeing more. People want to connect with people. People want to experience food experiences through like a personal homey setting. Somebody's cooking for you directly instead of just sitting in a big restaurant. And as we discussed before about like trying a concept in small, supper clubs are an extremely good option to test the market. We are just launching one. We were planning to create a restaurant, and then we went on the same road as you mentioned, that let's test the market, let's do proof of concept, let's see the reaction of the people. So starting, whether it's Turkish or Italian or whatever is the cuisine, testing it out in a homey setting, or somebody cooking and creating an experience where you actually meet random people, you get to know each other, you bond with each other over homemade food, And then if it has a space, it can grow and evolve into a restaurant. We've seen so many examples and really successful examples of this in Dubai in the recent years. And looking at these apps and platforms where you can find these supper club experiences and register and try it. Many apps are available where you can actually just pick your city and register one of these experiences based on the cuisine and the type of food and the type of host. We see that technology is actually driving this forward. So I would say if I have to highlight a trend that is trending, this would be one of that.
Derek, same question to you. What are the hottest trends in the market, regionally, globally?
Well, I mean, I think when you use the word trend, it comes and goes, right? Your earlier statement, which do you like? You like a burger. The reality is that's one of the fastest moving items in this country is burgers. I would agree with Judith that it's the experience that people are looking for more so as opposed to the actual cuisine itself. But I would also say that the massive trend in Saudi today, you know, and hats off to the TGP team and the team at Mamlaka for creating social dining. That in itself now has created a massive shift in regards to what all asset classes are now looking at as kind of a benchmark. And when you have a social dining aspect like Mamlaka, the way it looks, the journey, the brands that are in there, then you don't need to worry about cuisine because you have everything in there under one roof. So again, I don't think that it necessarily is a specific cuisine, but it's the experience and the delivery of that
It's an experience. So the bottom line is an experience that does matter. So what is the role of technology in shaping F&B, the future of the F&B with the operating costs so high? You think technology will help bringing controlling the cost and bringing some consistency in the process?
I think absolutely. I think technology, it doesn't matter if we admit it or not, we want to endure it or not, it's going to come today or tomorrow, regardless of what we think as hoteliers and how much labor intensive we are. But I think technology in the coming years are already playing quite a lot of part, that somebody lands at the airport, you have that app which can tell you you want to check in and then you want to order something or you want a decaffeinated coffee in your room. And so all that is seamless. And I think hotel companies are still a bit far from where technology is.
They're far in everything, I think.
But I think in terms of airline, if you look at it, they have done pretty well. Emirates has done a great job in putting that together, and a couple of more airlines in the world as well. But hotels companies are doing it, but because they're very global, they have a lot number of units to handle. It's not only one centralized place to put that technology in. But technology will play a great role in reducing cost, bringing a better GOP, a better customer experience.
Great, good word, better GOP. So F&B struggles with the profitability in food and beverage is the lowest among other aspects of the hotel. So here, technology, as Asif is saying, will play its role. Judith, now question to you towards Saudi cuisine. With 13 regions offering very different offerings in terms of food and beverage. What do you see the future of Saudi food and beverage, in transforming the overall hospitality experience in KSA?
I would say, based on my past 48 hours experience, I think it has a space if we would see the youth transforming it, as we've seen many examples in the region, transforming it into experiences, as whether it's food truck or personalized experience, bringing it into these new hotels that are coming up, especially also local brands and boutique brands that I've been very happy to see. If this can be incorporated with entrepreneurs and the youth of the kingdom and introducing it and creating it in a fusion way where not only the visitors who come here to work but also the tourists can experience it, I'm sure it will be a huge success.
Derek, same question to you. Saudi cuisine, where do you see it and its role in elevating the overall hospitality experience?
Well, I think you and I had a little bit of work on that with a project that we did a couple of years ago. Maize as a concept, which is a local Saudi concept operated by Al Khuzama, and it's menu items from 13 provinces, mixology from 13 provinces. When we looked at that and we traveled and we saw the difference in rice and the difference in cooking method, it's absolutely stunning. I think the idea of Saudi cuisine isn't there yet on a global scale, and it's brands like, Maize and other brands that are locally created focus on the Saudi cuisine that need to be exported globally to let the world know that this is what Saudi cuisine actually is, right? It's not just kapsa, like what people think. But I think outside of the cuisine, it's actually the cooking methodology. When you go to these places and how they cook it, digging a hole in the sand, putting it in, letting it sit there for 24 hours. Again, when we talk about experience, this needs to be transformed into the journey of the customer to really understand what Saudi culinary is. And the younger generation, the younger chefs need to embrace that old way and bring it to the forefront to show the authenticity of the food to the other people.
Very important. The culinary tourism can play a vital role in elevating the overall tourism in KSA, and I have a pleasure of being, to 13 region, tasting the food and how local cook it. The depth in Saudi food is just amazing. It's mind-blowing. And most of the food has not been explored and brought to the greater audience, but it has a great potential to take it, refine it, and take it to the next level. But with the one word and one line that you said, authenticity, the typical way of cooking, it can really do magic. Talent, culinary talent is globally is not easy to find. So if we are planning, like Dubai has 23,000 restaurants, and Riyadh will take over. That's our predictions and our survey. Riyadh will take over sooner or later from Dubai. But the talent to make it happen, what do you suggest? How to polish that talent and bring that talent in?
You see, if you look at Saudi Arabia, I think there are something like 134,000 restaurants, what I read, in the kingdom altogether, and 33% of it in Riyadh. However, in order to cater and then to grow that market for 2030 vision, the number of restaurants will come in to support that. I think there's less schools available locally. There is, I think, hardly any chef's school in the kingdom or in the region as such very, available. I think everybody has to think about that pipeline and says how we're going to fill up those positions, but you need to train those people who already exist for the future leaders for the food and beverage.
Great, thank you very much. Derek, sorry, would you like to add?
I was going to say that, the Saudi culture in general is, if you go to their house, they're extremely hospitable. Probably one of the most hospitable cultures you'll ever meet. I think that you need to start at a baseline, and you need to bring them in and let them feel as if that location or that business is their home. And I was just having this conversation with someone else earlier, and if you can really make them feel like this is home, then that hospitality comes out naturally for them, and then they start growing with you within your organization.
This is very, very, again, you're not going to find these comments in any book, and nobody will teach you these things. It has a lot to do with the cultural sensitivity. Here, I have opened a number of restaurants. You cannot bring Saudis in the kitchen and just push them to deliver the food and go home. No. Until you make them feel comfortable, until you involve them, until they feel it's home, until they can be able to show their creativity, it's not going to happen. It's like a revolving door. They will come from this door, they will go out. So it's very important when you are operating in this market and you do need Saudi talent, then you have to treat them in a different way and make them feel comfortable, make them enjoy what they do. Just treating them as a labor force is not going to take you far. Ladies and gentlemen, we have only 2 minutes left. If we can open the floor for any question anybody have for our panelists.
Hello? Thank you all for your time. I really did appreciate all the insight that everyone was able to share. Derek and Judith, you both well put that, experience is very important at an F&B outlet. But how important is it, would you say, if it lacks, for example, in the quality of the food, or if it lacks in the service? You're offering great experience and a memorable experience and everything, but you're not quite there when it comes to the quality of the food. What would you say about that?
Judith.
Well, very good question. I would say the experience and everything will be memorable, but maybe not in a positive way. So impression you can only create once. Memories people will take away. They will remember how you make them feel, what they experienced. If the quality element of missing, then you basically not going to reach the goal. So number one is really to work out the quality or type of cuisine, your methodology, do several testing or testing the grounds in different ways. And when you feel and then you gather the feedback from the people you're testing with, then you are ready. And still there will be mistakes and mishaps in between, but you need to develop that level of quality before you're able to transform that into an experience, a memorable one and a positive one.
Thank you.
Any other question?
So for what I would say as a consumer, not as an operator, I've eaten at restaurants that the quality is not that great, but the service was fantastic. And I went back because the service was fantastic. But that's me as a consumer. I'm not sure if there's many consumers like me, but I would probably say that a lot of people would look like that or look at it that way. That doesn't mean the food is going to be bad, but the food, it needs to be, let's say, at least a 6 out of 10. And if it's a 6 out of 10, the service is a 10 out of 10, the design is an 8 out of 10, I think that the customer will repeat itself. I think the challenge in Saudi specifically is price point, because our import cost is extremely high. Obviously, we don't really grow anything, and that's why pricing becomes a sensitive issue. So there's a balance on a P&L between labor cost and cost of goods to be able to deliver a good quality product consistently.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.